The realm of reason. Immanuel Kant begins in a place that feels almost alien compared to ordinary life, a realm not defined by desires, impulses, or circumstances, but by reason itself for Kant. Reason isn't just a tool for problem-solving. It is a law-giving force, capable of guiding human beings toward actions that hold true across all situations. Kant believes that within each person, there is something untouched by emotion and untouched by the chaos of the world, a rational core that knows what ought to be done. This isn't the loud, emotional voice that shouts for pleasure or comfort. It's the quiet, steady awareness of what is right. Living in the realm of reason doesn't mean ignoring feelings. It means recognizing that feelings come and go, but moral principles endure. In this space, choices are not reactive. They are deliberate. They rise from principles you could defend no matter who asked or when they asked. As the mind slows and the world softens around you, imagine stepping into this realm, a clear, spacious landscape where your thoughts feel orderly, grounded, and free from pressure. Here, reason isn't harsh, it's calm. It provides shape and direction without force. It gives you a place to stand. Kant wants you to see that your rational nature isn't a burden to carry. It's a source of dignity, a quiet strength that no one can take from you. The categorical imperative, acting from duty. Kant's most profound moral principle is the categorical imperative. Act only according to that maxim by which you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. This principle asks us to step beyond personal desires or situational benefits. Before acting, we must consider, could this action be a rule for everyone, everywhere, at all times? If the answer is no, the act is morally impermissible. If yes, it aligns with reason and duty. Unlike ethical systems based on feelings or outcomes, the categorical imperative is absolute and universal. It does not bend for convenience, emotion, or circumstance. It demands that we act out of recognition of moral law itself. Every choice, no matter how small, carries the weight to this principle. Speaking truthfully, helping another, or even resisting temptation becomes a deliberate alignment with reason. In practicing duty, we cultivate inner order and clarity, regardless of the chaos around us. As you reflect quietly, imagine the calm that rises when your actions are guided not by fleeting impulses, but by reason itself. Feel the stillness that comes from acting in harmony with the universal moral law. Autonomy and moral freedom. Kant emphasizes that true morality depends on autonomy, the capacity to govern oneself according to reason rather than external influence or mere desire. Freedom, in his view, is not the license to do whatever we want, but the power to act according to rational principles we recognize as binding. Moral freedom rises when we choose our actions out of respect for the moral law, not for rewards, punishments, or personal gain. This self-governance transforms obligation into a form of liberation by following reason. We are no longer enslaved to impulse or circumstance. Autonomy also implies responsibility. When we act freely according to reason, we accept the consequences of our choices and the ethical weight of our actions. This duality, freedom coupled with responsibility, is at the heart of Kantian ethics. As you breathe slowly and let your body relax, consider the gentle strength of moral freedom. Even in the face of uncertainty or challenge, you possess the ability to act deliberately, to align with reason, to navigate life with quiet dignity and calm awareness. The Kingdom of Ends. In Kant's vision, the Kingdom of Ends is a moral ideal where every rational being acts according to laws they could will to be universal. Here, each person is treated as an end in themselves. never merely as a means to someone else's goal. This concept extends the categorical imperative into a social and ethical framework. Respect, dignity, and moral worth are not contingent on status, power, or utility. Every individual has inherent value because they possess reason, autonomy, and the capacity to act morally. Living in the kingdom of ends means imagining a world where all actions honor the rational agency of others. It asks us to act not only out of duty to ourselves, but out of recognition of the shared moral universe. Each choice contributes to the broader fabric of ethical life. As you settle into the quiet, envision this kingdom, a calm, ordered space where respect and reason govern, where every action is deliberate, and where your own life is woven into the tapestry of universal moral law. In this reflection, feel a profound serenity, knowing that ethical consciousness is both a personal and universal sanctuary. Duty versus inclination. Kant asks us to look inward and notice a tension that quietly shapes almost every choice we make. The pull of inclination versus the clarity of duty. Inclinations are our desires, emotions. Impulses, the things we do because they feel good, or convenient, or comforting. They're not evil, just unreliable guides. They shift with mood, circumstance, and personal preference. Duty, on the other hand, stands apart from emotion. It is the moral law speaking within us, the recognition that something ought to be done because it is right, not because it satisfies a feeling. Only actions done from duty, Kant insists, have true moral worth. Imagine the difference. Helping someone because you want their praise is still helpful, but it isn't moral in the Kantian sense. Helping them because you recognize their inherent dignity, that is acting from duty. That is the inner act of respecting the universal moral law. As you breathe in the quiet, feel the weightlessness of this idea. You don't need to chase emotional approval. You don't need to be driven by the changing weather of your mind. Duty offers a calm, steady center, a compass that does not swing with desire. Let yourself rest in that clarity. Moral law and the human will. Kant believes that the human will is not just a force that pushes us toward whatever we desire. If that were all it was, we would be no different from well-trained animals. What makes the human will unique is its ability to be guided by something entirely different from appetite, the moral law. The moral law is not a command from God, society, tradition, or authority. Those would all make morality dependent on something external and changeable for Kant. The moral arises from reason itself. It comes from within the very structure of rational thought. This is why he calls it a law of freedom. To obey it is not to obey someone else. It is to obey the best and most lucid part of yourself. Think of it this way. Desire pulls, reason directs. Desire wants comfort, pleasure, reward. Reason wants coherence, integrity. Universality. The human will stands in the middle. It can follow appetite or follow principle. When the will chooses the moral law, it expresses what Kant calls pure practical reason, the part of our mind that can act not because something feels good, but because it is right. The moral law does not promise happiness. It does not flatter the ego. It does not bargain. It simply commands what is worthy of a rational being. The astonishing claim in Kant's philosophy is this: every rational person, no matter their culture or era, can recognize this inner law. It appears as a quiet pressure, an obligation we cannot fully explain but cannot deny, a sense that some actions would betray it we are, and some would honor it. The human will becomes truly free only when it aligns with this law, not when it follows impulse, not when it yields to fear or temptation, but when it chooses the path that reason can justify universally. This is where moral dignity, begins in the decision to let reason lead the will. Imperatives of practical reason. Kant believes morality speaks to us through what he calls imperatives, commands of reason that tell us what we ought to do, but not all imperatives are created equal. Some guide us only because we want a specific outcome. Others guide us no matter what we want. This distinction is the heart of Kant's moral philosophy. The first type is the hypothetical imperative. It sounds like this: if you want X, then you should do Y. If you want money, work. If you want respect, be honest. If you want health, exercise. These imperatives depend entirely on your personal goals. Change the goal, and the imperative disappears. But Kant says moral life cannot rest on such a fragile foundation. If morality is real, if it has any weight, it cannot shift depending on someone's whims or desires. It must be grounded in something deeper than personal preference. That's why Kant introduces the categorical imperative. This one says, do this because it is right. No conditions. No negotiations. It doesn't tell you how to get what you want. It tells you what a rational being must do, simply by virtue of being rational. Hypothetical imperatives guide skill. Categorical imperatives guide character. The difference is like the difference between learning how to play chess versus learning how to treat a human being. The first is optional, the second is not. Kant's point is that moral action cannot depend on your desires, moods, or goals. It must come from reason's universal law, binding for every rational agent, everywhere, always. This is why the categorical imperative is central. It is the voice of pure practical reason commanding the will. And it asks something very specific. Act only in ways you could will to be a law for everyone. In this, Kant believes, lies the foundation of all genuine morality. The Sublime and Moral Awe. Kant has a surprising, almost poetic side, something people forget because he's associated with rigid logic and strict moral discipline. But inside his philosophy is a quiet, powerful emotion he calls the sublime. The sublime is not about beauty. Beauty is gentle, harmonious, pleasing. The sublime, by contrast, is overwhelming, something so vast or powerful that it makes you feel small, yet strangely elevated at the same time. Standing beneath a thunderstorm, looking up at a night sky filled with stars, staring at a mountain so massive it silences your thoughts. These moments show you the limits of your physical self. They make your body feel fragile, insignificant. But Kant says something remarkable happens at the same time. Even as nature overpowers your senses, you realize there is something inside you that nature cannot crush. Your physical body is small. Your irrational will is not. When the storm rages, your mind can still choose. When the ocean roars, your moral law remains intact. When the universe dwarfs you, your capacity for reason remains untouched. And that realization creates a deep, quiet awe. Kant says the sublime reveals our moral superiority to nature, not dominance in a physical sense, but in a rational one. Nature can shatter mountains. It cannot break a rational will that has committed itself to moral law. This is why the sublime brings a strange calm. It reminds you that inside the chaos of existence, there is something stable. Your ability to act according to principles you give yourself. This inner strength, the will that obeys reason, is the foundation of dignity. And when you feel that dignity, you sense something Kant describes as moral awe, a reverence for the law within, deeper than fear or admiration. In the stillness of night, this feeling becomes even stronger. The quiet reminds you that despite the size of the world, your capacity to choose what is right is untouched, unshaken, and profoundly human. Respect and human dignity. Kant draws a sharp, unwavering line in the sand. Every human being, every single one, possesses dignity, not because of talent, strength, intelligence, achievements, or usefulness, but because of their capacity for reason and moral choice. Dignity, for Kant, is not something you earn. It is something you are. This is why he says rational beings must always be treated as ends in themselves, never as mere tools, to achieve someone else's goals. When you manipulate someone, deceive them, exploit them, or use them as a means to your own comfort or advantage, you are not just doing something unkind. You're violating the core principle that gives humans their special worth, and the reverse is also true. When you respect someone, you acknowledge the moral law inside them, the same law that lives in you. You're recognizing their ability to choose, to act, to reason, and to determine the direction of their own life. This is what creates genuine moral relationships. Respect here doesn't mean admiration or liking someone. You can dislike a person deeply, yet still owe them respect. Because respect isn't about feelings, it's about acknowledging their moral nature. And there is something calming about this idea. It strips away the noise of social status, popularity, power, or wealth. None of that determines a person's worth. A human being is not a price, they're a value. This principle becomes a sort of moral gravity, a steady pull that keeps you grounded. It whispers a quiet reminder that behind every face is a will, a mind, a consciousness capable of choosing the good, and this includes you. Kant's philosophy invites you to feel respect not only outward, but inward. Self-respect isn't ego. It is the recognition that you possess the same moral dignity you're obligated to see in others. To act from reason is to honor that dignity. To ignore it is to betray something essential about yourself. In the calm before sleep, this idea has a grounding force. You are part of a community of beings who share the same inward light, fragile bodies, but equal in moral stature. Moral law and the human will. Kant teaches that moral law is not imposed from outside. It emerges from the rational human will itself. When we act morally, we are not obeying external commands but recognizing principles that our reason compels us to follow. The human will, guided by reason, discerns duties that are universal. It is not swayed by fleeting desires or emotions but directed by the understanding of what is right. This internal alignment between reason and action forms the foundation of ethical life. Acting according to moral law is an exercise of freedom. By choosing to obey reason, the will affirms its autonomy and establishes a personal commitment to ethical principles in every decision. Small or great, the moral law within us provides a compass for conduct. As you reflect in the quiet of night, feel the calm presence of your rational will. Sense the gentle authority of morality as it guides your actions and anchors your consciousness, bringing serenity even amidst life's uncertainties. Imperatives of practical reason. Kant distinguishes between hypothetical imperatives, which depend on our desires, and categorical imperatives, which rise from reason itself. Practical reason calls us to act not because of what we want, but because what we do is morally necessary. The categorical imperative is the supreme law of practical reason. It tells us what we ought to do, independent of personal gain or circumstance. By following it, we align our actions with universal principles and affirm our rational nature. In this light, every choice is an opportunity to exercise reason, even mundane decisions, how we treat others, how we keep promises, how we respond to challenges, become expressions of moral clarity. Practical reason does not demand grand gestures. It asks for integrity in each moment. As you settle deeper into quiet reflection, feel the steady calm of reason guiding you. Let the awareness of your rational capacities bring peace, knowing that morality is not a burden imposed from outside, but a law discovered within. The Sublime and Moral Awe. Kant explores the sublime as an experience that stretches the mind beyond ordinary perception. It rises when we encounter something vast, powerful, or overwhelming, yet feel our reason rise to comprehend it. This sense of awe connects us to the moral dimension of existence. Moral awe is the recognition of our own capacity for reason and ethical action. It reminds us that while the universe may be indifferent, our rational and moral faculties are profound. We are capable of recognizing duties, choosing freely, and acting with integrity, even in the face of forces far greater than ourselves. This experience inspires humility and reflection. It draws attention to the power of reason and the responsibilities it entails. By contemplating the sublime, we sense the depth of moral law within us and the infinite reach of human ethical potential. As you rest, let this moral awe watch gently over your mind. Feel the quiet majesty of your own reason and the serene power of ethical awareness guiding your thoughts into a calm, reflective state. Respect and human dignity. Central to Kant's philosophy is the unwavering principle that every human being possesses inherent dignity. This dignity is not earned by accomplishments, wealth, or social status. It is grounded in our capacity for reason and moral choice. Respect for others means recognizing their autonomy, valuing their ability to make rational decisions, and never treating them merely as a means to an end. When we honor the dignity of others, we participate in the moral order that reason reveals. Kant emphasizes that respect is active, not passive. It shapes how we speak, how we act, and how we engage with the world. Ethical living requires constant awareness of the value inherent in every person, including ourselves. As you lie quietly, reflect on this gentle principle. Feel a soft warmth in acknowledging your own worth and the worth of those around you. Let this recognition bring peace and calm, creating a serene foundation for rest. Universalizability and ethics in action. Kant's idea of universalizability reminds us that moral actions must be capable of becoming a law for all rational beings before acting. We ask, could everyone act this way without contradiction or harm? This principle transforms everyday decisions into a moral practice, from simple gestures of honesty to profound ethical choices. Universalizability ensures that our actions are consistent with reason and respect for others. It challenges us to rise above selfish impulses and consider the broader consequences of our behavior in the moral community. Ethics in action, then, is not abstract theory. It is lived in each interaction, each choice, and each responsibility we take on. By striving to act universally, we cultivate integrity, trust, and moral clarity. As your body softens and your thoughts slow, imagine your actions radiating outward, touching the lives of others with fairness, respect, and reason. Let the quiet understanding of your ethical power settle over you like a gentle, calming presence. Living according to reason. To live according to reason is to allow rational principles, rather than fleeting desires or external pressures, to guide our actions. Kant emphasizes that this alignment of life with reason is the highest expression of human freedom and dignity. When we act rationally, we honor the moral law within ourselves. Every decision, no matter how small, becomes a reflection of our commitment to ethical living. Even in the face of difficulty or uncertainty, reason provides a steady compass, helping us navigate life with clarity, integrity, and purpose. This way of living is not rigid or joyless. It is a quiet, disciplined harmony. By embracing reason, we cultivate serenity, self-respect, and a deeper connection to the moral fabric that unites all rational beings. As you settle deeper into rest, allow yourself to feel the calm authority of reason guiding your choices. Let this inner clarity carry you gently towards sleep, secure in the knowledge that your life, aligned with reason, is meaningful in its own profound way. As night envelops you and your body relaxes, let the wisdom of Immanuel Kant guide your mind into quiet reflection. Reason, duty, and moral law are not distant abstractions. They are living principles within you, offering clarity, freedom, and calm, even in a world filled with uncertainty. Your capacity for rational thought and ethical action remains steadfast. Every choice, every act of respect, every moment lived in alignment with reason brings peace and purpose. Release the need for external validation or certainty. Rest in the gentle understanding that living according to reason is both a responsibility and a liberation. Let your mind drift on the serene current of ethical awareness, carrying you gently into sleep, where calm and clarity merge with quiet dreams.